Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Deep Dive with OA. My name is Omar Abedin and I'm the project director at the National Incubation Center in Karachi. And today we have with us an old friend and a founder who is making waves and news every day. Asad Khan, welcome to the show. Before we crack into it, Asad, why don't you tell us what you were doing before you and I worked together at Careem?
Thank you, Omar. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. So before Careem, I was abroad for almost 17 years. So when I joined Careem, I think I skewed the age in Careem as soon as I joined it, right?
Yeah.
So because the average age in Careem was around 25. But I spent primarily in healthcare technology. So before moving to Pakistan, my last role in London was with a company called IQVIA. So IQVIA, they're like the Goldman Sachs of clinical research. So they're the world's largest clinical research organization. I was their country manager for UK and Ireland. UK and Ireland was their second biggest market. So it was an interesting role because there was a lot to do with the data there. Prior to that, I spent alongside Bain Capital, so not directly employed by them, but I was kind of their handyman, right? So I used to pick up their successful health tech companies from US and then scale them in Europe.
Oh, nice.
So one of the last companies I scaled for them was called MEDZnMORE. And that company was the first company in the world that employed AI machine learning for healthcare decision support systems. So some really interesting stuff. I won't take credit for all of it, but I think the company was doing some great stuff. I've spent some time in Oracle in their life sciences unit, and I've done some startups of my own. So one of the startups I did in Germany became the largest reunion website in Germany, which we later sold to our UK competitor. It was called fundraising.de. It's for the audience, which is primarily post-Facebook. It's even pre-Facebook. This Friendly Direct, right? So
Wow.
that was like mid-2000s. So it was, but yes, so health is where my passion is. So I did my MBA from Duke, also in health sector management. So I think वो आपको होता है ना कि आप काफ़ी सारे travel करके, काफ़ी सारी चीज़ें करके, you land at one place, and then you figure out, yeah, this is what I wanted to do. So I wanted to be in healthcare. I think as soon as I landed in healthcare in NHS, I knew this is the place where, yes, you can get success, but you also get impact and success at the same time. So that's what I wanted to do in Pakistan.
Amazing. So Careem has nothing to do with health. Why Careem? What happened?
Yes, I think a lot of people who move back to Pakistan can probably relate to this. जब आप पाकिस्तान वापस move कर रहे होते हैं, right? So आपके पास कोई, you don't actually have a monetary, factor. You don't have a monetary aspect in mind जब आप पाकिस्तान आ रहे होते हैं, that because the likelihood is you'll do better abroad monetarily. Financially,
sure.
monetarily you'll do. So जब आप पाकिस्तान आ रहे होते हैं तो you say to yourself, यार बाहर इतनी मेहनत करके यहाँ पहुँचा हूँ, right? So should I just uproot myself again and go back to Pakistan? और उसमें आपके पास पाकिस्तान आने के लिए, so for me there were a couple of things, right? मैंने कहा था यार कि अगर पाकिस्तान में आ रहा हूँ तो I need to have a better social life. I'm still working on it actually.
That I can believe.
Yeah.
That I can believe.
और दूसरा मैं कह रहा था यार कि if I moved back to Pakistan, then the impact I'm having in UK, in Pakistan it has to be slightly bigger. So UK में आप 10 लोगों को impact कर रहे हैं, then impact has to be slightly broader. And it has
At least 10x.
At least 10x.
Yeah,
अगर
yeah.
पाकिस्तान move कर रहे हैं. And then of course you move back primarily for love of the country. इतने अर्से से बाहर होते हैं तो that yearning, if you have had a good time, good childhood, good teenage in Pakistan, you never actually leave Pakistan. So Careem when I moved back to Pakistan, I wanted to set up a health tech company because that's what I knew. That's what I had built in the West. But Careem was just accidental, right? So it was accidental. I looked around what's happening in the startup space in Pakistan, and I looked at, okay, this company has raised quite a lot of money, right? So कम से कम salary दे देंगे. So I stumbled on a post on LinkedIn that they're looking for a GM, general manager, and I applied for it. लेकिन होता क्या है जब आप बाहर से आ रहे होते हैं ना आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशन बड़ी हाई होती है, राइट? आप कहेंगे यार ये तो वो सब कहेंगे प्लीज़ मेरे पास आ जाओ, मेरे पास आ जाओ. I had 8 interviews in Careem. I had to go through 8 interviews at Careem.
Wow.
So that was a good reality check, right? So Careem was attracting cream of the crop in this entire region, right? They were attracting the best talent. But having said that, I don't think there was a better place in this entire region that I could have landed back in Pakistan. The company with fantastic culture, great founders, and really sincere in their effort to create an impact.
Yes, purpose-driven
organization. So I think at the time I spent at Careem 2-3 years, although काफी अर्से से काम कर रहा था, but I think this was the best time. This was the best workplace I worked in. So hats off to Mudassir and Magnus and the senior team there to build this kind of culture.
Yeah, there was. So just a quick story from my side. Asad and I would end up often speaking at the same stage 2-3 times. Idhar udhar hum milte the, and Asad, one day he said to me, yeah, listen, we've been looking for a marketing director. We can't seem to keep hold of one. So would you be interested in joining Careem? And I said, what is Careem? Do you remember that? And he was like, dude, you're embarrassing me. So anyway, long story, I didn't have 8 interviews. I only had like 4. But I joined Careem shortly after that. And then, so while I was running marketing for Careem across Pakistan, Asad was one of my key stakeholders as the GM of South. And so we've been on extremely hostile calls together and extremely cordial calls together as well. So it was truly an amazing experience. I look back on it now, and it was like a crash course in what is a startup, how does it work, how do you build something that is just such a beast, such a monster of an organization, and all aligned towards one purpose, one set of goals. It was quite amazing.
I think Careem के अंदर जो autonomy थी, right? And autonomy means that the trust that leadership had in people that they were hiring, right? And that bred autonomy, the trust in people. So, for example, if I was managing Sindh Balochistan, if I was managing south of Pakistan, then the co-founders had trust that this guy knows his market, right? So we don't need to micromanage. So the budgets came down and the growth targets came down, agreed with, and beyond that, they said, I don't care, you launch a plane, jahaz launch karna hai.
Which you almost did.
Which I almost did,
right? Yeah.
So I think I give one example to everyone, that in Karachi, I got the entire aviation industry CEOs in a single room. And I told them, I want you to do 10x of your volume, right? I'm going to bring your services to an app. People will press a button and they'll get a plane. We decided the entire commercials of a bird's eye view of Karachi, commercials for a flight to Sakhar, Hyderabad, Lahore, and Nawab Shah. We decided the entire commercial. We onboarded civil aviation, that somebody will book through Careem will come through the back door, go straight to the plane, and then fly over. And I didn't need a single permission. We were ready to launch Careem Air as a separate category, and there was no permission required. This kind of autonomy, this kind of localization. That's what made Careem what it became.
And let's be fair, that was not the craziest thing that we did.
It's not. I'm sure we can't talk about half of the things that went wrong.
It's absolutely not the craziest thing that we did. So amazing. And then of course the acquisition happened. I think looking back on it now, given the current environment, which we'll talk about in a minute, the timing of the exit of Careem could not have been better. They got everything they wanted. They got the price. They got the autonomy. They got the investments that they needed to keep the business up and running. It was a fantastic exit for everyone who worked at Careem, because we all had,
tiny bit.
Yeah.
Tiny bit, yes.
Just a taste.
Yeah, just
right?
I think the founders at Careem were very magnanimous in sharing wealth, right? So they truly believed in the mantra that, sharing se wealth badhti hai, kam nahi hoti.
Yep.
So they shared it generously.
Yes.
So a lot of people at Careem at the time of exit, made handsomely out of it.
Yeah. I mean, dollar millionaires.
Dollar millionaires, right? So a regional organization made dollar millionaires through that.
And not one, 20, $25 millionaires. That's a big thing.
In dozens.
Yeah.
In dozens. And that only happens when founders believe in that, I don't want the biggest piece of the small pie.
Yeah.
I am happy with the small piece of a massive pie. Right?
So this, by the way, this is a discussion that I have almost every day with founders who are really possessive about equity. So you look at a single person sitting on 100% equity. He's the only person on the cap table, and he's very proud of that. And what he doesn't realize is that for a VC, when they look at a person like that, there's a big question mark. Because aside from the business continuity challenges, agar ye bus ke niche aa gaya to kya hoga, there's also the fact that you don't have the ability to build a co-founding team or a team that you trust. You don't have an ESOP. You don't even have a plan for an ESOP.
Yeah.
So you're really thinking of this as a SATE and not as a startup founder.
As an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
So the most important thing in building a company from scratch, right? So if you want, क्योंकि सारे startups, they start from एक दो बंदों से start करते हैं, and if they're successful, right, they become 10, 20, 30,000 successful companies. उसके अंदर सबसे important चीज़ ही is team, and especially the initial team.
Yeah.
Initial team that you.
The founding team.
The founding team कह लें, founders कह लें, founders के बाद जो आपके पास initial लोग आते हैं company के अंदर, and वो Silicon Valley introduced the same what I was mentioning, right? कि पाया बड़ा करो, छोटे पाया में से सारा पीस लेने की कोशिश नहीं करो. I think जो local, you need a few exits, you need few success stories for people to start believing that. I think Careem का जो impact है in local startup ecosystem, it's impossible to exaggerate.
It was literally like Hiroshima.
Hiroshima, right? It's impossible to exaggerate.
Shook up the whole thing.
Shook up the whole thing. It's you can't exaggerate what Careem's impact has been. And one of the impact Careem had was to show that to the local, call it local, industrialists or local people who have money locally,
yes.
that, it can happen. It can happen, right? Tech companies. And sharing wealth increases your wealth too. So जैसे मैं सबको example देता हूँ, when I was hiring at Careem, so एक तो पाकिस्तान में turnover बड़ा high है, right? Careem के अंदर internally turnover, so I had to rebuild the bench 3 times in 3 years. 3 दफा पूरी bench दोबारा बनानी पड़ी थी because people ended up in different parts of Careem, right? Qatar चले गए,
yes.
UAE चले गए within Careem.
Because Pakistan was one of the main feeders markets for talent.
और दूसरी चीज़ I think I learned at Careem, because Careem में क्योंकि transparency इतनी ज़्यादा थी, I knew exactly how is Egypt performing, वहाँ पे unit economics कैसी है, वहाँ पे trip fares कैसे हैं, कैसे. So that transparency made that flow of information and the learnings for me and for everybody else. तो आपको पूरे region की learning आ गई. दूसरा, यहाँ से, sorry, हम बात कर रहे थे? Missed the mind. Anyway, वो so हम उसकी बात कर रहे थे कि जो mentality थी,
the founder mentality of not holding equity, hoarding equity.
मैं example दे रहा था. So I was hiring somebody and we gave him salary and the shares, right? उसने कहा यार मुझे उसकी salary अच्छी खासी थी. उसने कहा ये सारे shares ले लो, मुझे 5,000 रुपये extra दे दो. मैं उसे कहा यार मैंने कहा इसको don't take these shares lightly, they'll be worth a lot. उसके मैंने shares double कर दिए. मैंने पैसे नहीं बढ़ाया. He again came back. उसने कहा यार ये सारे शेयर वापस ले लो, मुझे 5,000 रुपये एक्स्ट्रा दे दो. But anyway, we didn't do that. he ended up with much higher shares than he तो उस वक्त shares का पता नहीं था. People didn't know what the shares are worth.
Strike price was
strike price क्या होती है, shares क्या होते हैं.
$1.50. Yeah.
Now, if you're speaking to youngsters who are coming in, especially from the startup background, the first thing they ask, shares
Equity,
कितने हैं?
हाँ.
Equity कितने हैं?
Options बताओ, vesting बताओ, cliff बताओ.
Cliff बताओ. So I think as we, inshallah, will see a lot more exits in Pakistan, in this region. So this will change. This will change. The wealth that is sitting with people in Pakistan in this region, I think will start coming out.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is a bit of democratization going on. But at the same time, talking about the impact of Careem, there are now probably 10, 15 companies that have been started by Careem.
Last I checked 84.
What now?
Last number I know.
84 companies?
Yes, the last number I checked was about 84.
Oh, wow. So I have not seen that.
So कोई 7-8 तो पाकिस्तान में है.
Oh, I see.
Right, 7-8 तो पाकिस्तान.
नहीं, 7-8 से ज़्यादा हैं पाकिस्तान.
ज़्यादा हैं पाकिस्तान में.
13-14 हैं पाकिस्तान में.
जो ex-Careem. So last number I know was about 84.
So that includes the whole region, obviously.
Whole region,
right. So I'm not considering Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain.
जहाँ पे यहाँ से ज़्यादा हैं startups, and they collectively have raised hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, it is like I said, a thappa from Careem has helped a lot of people.
और thappa in the sense के people, because Careem अच्छी बात 2-3 चीज़ें थी ना. Careem एक चीज़ ये थी कि आपके पास there was money, right? Liquidity काफ़ी थी.
Yeah.
So we're spending a lot of money, which means that we could spend money on learning. We could do a lot of A/B testing.
It was kind of a unique environment.
Really unique environment, right? We could spend money. We could learn a lot. A/B testing. How do we get supply? How do we improve captain sentiments? How do we get subsidized? कैसे करें?
Try this.
So
money was not the constraint.
So there was constant experimentation at Careem, right? So we used to come up with 5-6 different ideas on daily basis. We need to test out in the market. A/B testing करते रहते थे. And that A/B testing, people who stayed with Careem for 2-3 years, 2-3 साल में, they knew exactly how to scale a startup. वो confidence आ जाता है. So I think the people who have set up these companies is not just because they were in Careem. It's because they got confidence that yes, they can scale a startup.
हाथ साफ करने का मौका मिल गया.
हाथ साफ हो गया, confidence आ गया था.
वो जो apprentice होता है ना, जो मैकेनिक के साथ आता है टूल्स वगैरह लेके, वो अपना हाथ साफ करता है आपकी गाड़ी के ऊपर.
So वहाँ पे होता है कि आपके पास कोई बंदा आता है काम, youngster starts with you, first 3-4 months वो थोड़ा सा confused होता है. उसके बाद 6 महीने बाद he used to come up with outrageous ideas. वो क्या फट जाता था. Right? He used to come up with कि यार इस दफ्तर को गिरा के दोबारा बना देते हैं.
I remember that as well.
Yeah,
I remember you guys going out and picking out a new office in PCHS. Yeah, no, that was pretty cool.
So yes, I think I loved every second of my time at Careem.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Moving on from Careem now, let's talk about MEDZnMORE. So talk about the journey. How did you decide to get into it? What has been the journey of MEDZnMORE so far? आपको कितने 2 साल हो गए अब? 1.5 साल हुआ है?
Yeah, so our first warehouse went live in March 21.
Okay, so just over a year. Yeah. But you were working on it before that.
So we started working on it. So I'll give you background on this. So when I first moved to Pakistan, I got together with Babar, who's one of the co-founders, right? So Babar was setting up a VC fund, and we talked about 2 main areas. एक हम solve करना चाह रहे थे. Yeah, there is no infrastructure, right? There is no primary healthcare in Pakistan. There is no doctor down the road, right? आपको medicines नहीं मिलती हैं, doctors नहीं मिलते हैं. Is there anything we can do to simplify access to healthcare services? Can we build a comprehensive platform जहाँ पे even if you're in a remote part of Pakistan, you get a few click access to the services. उसमें आपके पास मेडिसिन आ गई, मेडिसिन डिलीवरी एक्सेस, डॉक्टर्स पे एक्सेस आ जाए, डायग्नोस्टिक्स मिल जाए, एंड देन हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस मिल जाए, which Pakistan has the lowest penetration even in South Asia, right? बांग्लादेश से भी पीछे हैं, इंश्योरेंस होती है ही नहीं यहाँ पे. So we wanted to build a comprehensive healthcare platform, and then start doing some interesting stuff with that platform कि उस platform के ऊपर आपके पास कोई diabetes के patient आता है, हमारे platform को पता होगा उस diabetes के patient को किस stage पे है, उसको manage कैसे करना है, right? उसको ये doctor's appointments चाहिए, उसको ये follow-up clinics चाहिए, उसको ये tests चाहिए, उसको ये regular interventions चाहिए. So let the platform manage your entire disease journey. It has happened in the West. I've worked on building these pathways for NHS, for Kaiser in the West Coast, etc. We don't need to reinvent that, but we can build a platform that can utilize a lot of that knowledge base that exists in the West.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So एक तो ये part था. दूसरा part what we wanted to solve was Pakistan has kind of an epidemic of counterfeit medicines. So there have been various studies out there. जब मैं बाहर था तो एक CNN ने Pakistan focused article release किया that in Pakistan up to 40 to 50% medicines are either counterfeit or substandard. Now अगर आप ये नंबर सोचें, it's comprehend नहीं कर सकते कि 4 out of 10 medicines आप खा रहे हैं. Best case scenario ये है कि सिर्फ चूरन से कुछ नहीं होगा आपको, right? Or the worst case scenario तो you know is so its number is so huge that बाहर बैठ के तो comprehend ही नहीं कर सकते. And then I think few months back in September last year, Prophet again ran a story and quoted exactly the same number. And according to some research, that up to 40% medicines are either counterfeit or substandard. So इसमें दो चीज़ें, एक तो आपके पास होती है जो दवाई जाली है, दूसरा आपके पास होता है कि आपके पास सप्लाई चेन इतनी ब्रोकन है कि उसके टेम्परेचर मेंटेन नहीं होते, उसकी स्टोरेज सही तरह नहीं होती, तो वो अपनी एफिकेसी लूज कर जाती है मेडिसिन. तो वी वांटेड टू figure out कि can we remove these counterfeit medicines from the medicine supply chain. So एक problem ये था, दूसरा ये था. इसको solve करने के लिए so me, Saad Babar, जो Saad used to head product at दवाई. So I don't think there is a better person in Pakistan who understands how to build a medicine focused product supply chain logistics. So I think the team has been brilliant. We started with, and then we were joined by a few other similarly passionate people at the start. So 3-4 महीने I spent looking at the entire medicine supply chain. Right? How many manufacturers are there? उनके margins क्या हैं? वो distribute medicines कैसे करते हैं? How many distributors are there? उनके margins क्या हैं? Cities में उनकी coverage कैसी है? Outside cities coverage कैसी है? उनके margins क्या हैं? कितनी pharmacies exist करती हैं पाकिस्तान में? उनके margins क्या हैं? उनकी buying channels क्या हैं? So it was a whole. I could write a big thesis on medicine supply chain in Pakistan after a few months of looking at the supply chain, and it became quite clear to us that there is a wholesale market which is grossly underreported. So if we were to remove counterfeit, we'll need to reinvent how the whole supply chain, right?
Yeah.
We'll need to reinvent the whole supply chain in Pakistan. How the counterfeit enters the market, how do we remove that? You know, we need to remove this wholesale market, etc. So and then we realized the enormity of the challenge, right? Then building that comprehensive healthcare platform seemed like a big thing when we started. Compared to this, it didn't seem so big.
Sure.
It didn't seem so big.
Because you're going up against a lot of vested interests when you do this, right?
So एक तो आप vested interest के उस पे जा रहे हैं, फिर आपके पास digitization बहुत कम है retail के अंदर. I'm sure बाजार retail they're figuring this out. Digitization बहुत कम है, digital adoption slow है. और फिर आप you are going against very entrenched habits, very entrenched industry, right?
Yeah.
जो for decades doing the same thing, उसको change करने के लिए. So it seemed like an enormous challenge at the time. But I think we were determined that if we were to build a company that is both successful but also equally impactful, right, then we have to focus on these two areas. Normally क्या होता है? Normally companies don't focus on B2B and B2C at the same time, right? So we decided to go B2X. B2X to start with. And I think we realized quite quickly that for us to be able to solve this, building a company we know how to solve this. So हमें समझ आ गया था पहले 4-5 महीने में. We started in February, March 2020. That's when we all got together and we started. Right? So it's been over 2 years when we started. हमने B2C launch किया था Q4 2020 में, with a partner facility, एक partner थे उनके facility से start किया था, and we built our warehouse in March 21. Our growth has been nothing short of a miraculous. So the first warehouse was built in March 21, and we thought we were good for 6 months. We ran out of capacity in 3 weeks. So पहले वो इतनी demand आ गई, we couldn't deliver. तो मैंने कहा यार ये तो घर बैठ कर नहीं होगा, तो मैंने कहा गधा ले आओ. So
I saw those gaddas, so yeah, I can vouch for that. Yeah.
So एक गधा आ गया, and then Saad, we started sleeping in warehouse, and eventually we had 13 mattresses, 13, 14 mattresses, and half the mattresses were shared. Because other than that,
blood, sweat, and tears, right?
Sweat and tears. Other than that, we couldn't deliver. There was so much demand that came out. फिर हमने first warehouse खोला, second warehouse हमने खोला, I think 6 months down the line, because we just couldn't open the next warehouse. Time ही नहीं था. वो गाड़ियों पे बैठ कर delivery करें या warehouse खोले जाके, right? So अब वो next warehouse खोला, we thought we were okay. अब सुकून आ गया 6 महीने के लिए. 4-5 हफ्ते में that warehouse was full, max out हो गया. So first, I think 7-8 months after launch were primarily just catching up capacity with demand. I think हमारे पास जब warehouse खोलते हैं वो और issue भी थे, हमने बहुत बड़ा warehouse खोल दिया, अब तो capacity पूरी हो गई है.
So what is happening? So you're adding SKUs and verticals, and you're adding a customer base as well.
So दोनों end के ऊपर.
Right.
So we are probably one of the largest, if not largest, online pharmacy in Pakistan. On digital B2B side, I think we are by far the largest. So in Karachi, for example, हमने shops पे गए, हमने shops को देखा, shops daily basis पे, because of the lacking of distribution, current distribution
coverage,
etc. उनकी frequency उस time उनको सब वो सामान मिलता नहीं जिस time उनको चाहिए होता है, जितना चाहिए होता है. So they are forced to go and buy from wholesale throughout the week. Every single shop in Karachi or in Pakistan. Or wholesale is where the entire counterfeit, the source of counterfeit is entire wholesale. और वो wholesale जाते इसलिए हैं क्योंकि उनको time पे सामान नहीं मिलता, या जब चाहिए होता है
और उनको वहाँ से credit भी मिलता है.
उनको वहाँ से credit भी मिल जाता है. So दो main problem हैं उनके पास, दुकानों के पास. एक है उनके पास working capital limitation, right? Because they only have working capital for 1-2 दिन की working capital होता है, और distributor उनके पास week में एक दफ़ा आता है.
Yeah.
Right? So दूसरा उनके पास problem होता है frequency का. उनको जो सामान जब चाहिए उस वक्त मिलता नहीं है.
Yeah.
अगर आप working capital solve कर देंगे तो that's a very inefficient way of solving a problem, because सारा cash फंस जाएगा, right? So the capital वैसे ही नहीं market के अंदर, वो पूरे हफ्ते के 10 दिन की inventory लेके रख लेंगे, सारा पैसा फंस जाएगा. That's a very inefficient way of solving a problem. So you have to solve for both. आपको working capital भी solve करना है to an extent, but आपने असल में solve करना है कि उनको agility of supply chain, right? Agility of supply chain, उनको जब चाहिए, जितना चाहिए, जब चाहिए मिल जाए उनको. So हमने उनसे क्या, वो डेली बेसिस पे शॉप वाले करते थे कि यार वो अपने पैड के ऊपर लिखना लिस्ट बनाते थे डेली बेसिस पे कि दे नीड टू गेट दिस फ्रॉम होलसेल मार्केट नेक्स्ट डे, ये चीज़ें ख़त्म हो रही हैं. हमने कहा काम करो, ये पैड को साइड पे करो, ये ऐप है,
इसमें डाल दिया करो,
ये ऐप है, इसको सामने रखो, डेली बैठ के इस पर लिस्ट बना लिया करो इस ऐप के ऊपर. तो अभी कोई हमारे पास कराची में 6000 फार्मेसीज़ हैं जो ऐप्स पे ऐप्स यूज़ कर रही हैं. हम आधे कराची की फार्मेसीज़ को ऑन डेली बेसिस डिलीवर करते हैं. Half the pharmacies in Karachi.
That's crazy.
On average, a pharmacy buys from us 3 times in a day. Let's say if we deliver to 3,000 pharmacies on daily basis, हमारे पास वो pharmacies के 9,000 plus orders दिन भर place करती हैं. And it's all organic. So वो जो शुरू में हमारी आप कह रहे हैं कि थोड़ी सी कंसर्न थे कि डिजिटल एडॉप्शन कैसे होगी. द पेन पॉइंट वाज सो बिग फॉर देम, द यूज केस वाज सो स्ट्रॉन्ग दैट वी डिडंट हैव टू डू मच. आई थिंक देयर वाज सो मच पेंट अप डिमांड दैट वाज लुकिंग फॉर अ आंसर टू देयर प्रॉब्लम्स दैट आई थिंक द एडॉप्शन वाज जस्ट फैंटास्टिक.
So I think the big challenge you guys solved up front was getting the playbook right. So once you got the playbook right, it was execution, and for that you needed money.
एक तो पैसे चाहिए थे, दूसरा अच्छा इसमें बिकॉज दीज आर वेरी ऑप्स हैवी बिजनेसेस, तो आपके पास आपने वेयर हाउसेज बनाने हैं, बिकॉज वी बाय ऑल द इन्वेंट्री एंड वी कीप इट आवरसेल्व्स. तो उसमें आपको पाकिस्तान में कुछ 700 मैन्युफैक्चरर हैं.
अच्छा, रियली?
सो मैन्युफैक्चरर बट
स्मॉल मीडियम लार्ज.
स्मॉल मीडियम लार्ज. सो जो टॉप पार्ट है दे कंट्रोल bulk of the market, but
And there's a long tail.
there's a long tail of manufacturers in Pakistan. आपने बहुत सारी channel से supply aggregate करनी है, because you are kind of an aggregator. आपने supply aggregate करनी है. So supply chain is massive. So you need to bring science into this. Right? So early on we started working on platforms, forecasting engines जो हमें reliably forecasting दे दें. Otherwise you either end up with huge overstocking or understocking. Right? Overstocking में तो cash सारा वहीं चला जाएगा, बचेगा क्या, right? तो आपके पास initially you have to invest a lot of money in science, in understanding the supply chain side. तो हमारे पास कोई 10,000 different SKUs रखे होते हैं. Right? And
Is that right? 10,000? Wow.
So keeping 10,000 SKUs and making sure कि आपके पास वही quantity पड़ी है जिसकी ज़रूरत है. We are adding almost 500 SKUs on monthly basis. So by end of the year, we'll probably be 20,000 plus SKUs, 20,000 plus products in our portfolio. So at this time, we probably have the largest range of medicines. Almost, I think we are getting there in mother and baby care, vitamin supplements, devices, skin care. So we have a huge range of each one of these, and the aim is by end of this year, we should have the largest range and the most affordable prices in these categories of any.
But I think you might already be there, because every other distributor that I can think of, traditional distributor, only distributes the companies for which they have the license.
Yes.
So technically, since you guys are becoming sort of this master distributor, I don't know what the term is really, because you will become the source of all medicine for pharmacies.
The way we see ourselves is, I think the distribution channels, the pharma companies and the distributors, right? They have worked for many years. उन्होंने ये distribution channel set up किए हैं. पाकिस्तान में कोई 30% or almost 1/3 is wholesale market, right? जहाँ पे inefficiency of the entire thing वो exist करती है. So the way we see ourselves is we are not here to disrupt the distributors as such, right? Distributors are doing their job. हम यहाँ पे जो market की inefficiencies हैं उसको cover करने आए हैं, right? Let's say अगर wholesale market 30% है, right? Even that 30% is, उसमें से 10-20% भी अगर हम ले लेते हैं, then we are well into our mission of removing counterfeits. We counterfeit distributors नहीं आते. So the way we ourselves is not disrupting the entire ecosystem that's been built around that, is just addressing the inefficiencies which are currently being filled by a wholesale market. उसको digitize कर दें सारा.
So the minute you shed light on that dark cave, all of that nonsense ends, because it's now visible to everyone कि यार ये तो जाली माल है.
So I think उसमें अभी, of course, we are early in our journey, but there's a lot that is in the pipeline. So अगर मैं हमारे पास जो technology side पर roadmap है, अगर मैं कहूँ, even if we build the largest engineering team in Pakistan, it will take us 2 years just to go through the roadmap, because it's a tech business, right? So every single aspect of our journey, all the way, picker pick कैसे करेगा, packer pack कैसे करेगा, QC कैसे होगी, logistics कैसे चलेंगी, forecasting कैसे होगी. So every single thing we are optimizing for efficiency. So
across 10,000 SKUs.
Across 10,000 SKUs के अलावा across every single warehouse, across every single colleague that works in the warehouse, how can we optimize the performance across the entire organization? And
right now you're in Karachi only.
So we are Karachi. A couple of months back we launched Lahore, and last month we launched Islamabad.
Oh wow, so you're national now.
So we have large warehouses and a fantastic team in Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad.
Amazing. So on that note, why don't we talk about the fundraising?
Yeah.
Please share your journey with that.
Yeah.
In as much detail as you can.
I think for us, so fundraising wasn't as easy for some others, but there's silver lining for us, right? So because we didn't have as much cash as others, so we did a pretty good fundraise to start with. When we started, we raised $2.6 million. So that was a lot of cash at that time.
That was an industry record at the time.
That was an industry record.
Yeah.
What it did for us, it allowed us to invest on technology. So half the money we raised at that time was spent on building the right technology stack, right? So for example, Saad came on board and a few guys came on board, and we locked ourselves in the room and we designed the entire product stack from scratch. How do we build a medicine-focused supply chain delivery platform, right? So we scanned the market and we couldn't find a solution that would fit our requirement. We want to do B2B, we want to do B2C. And then we designed the entire product stack. And then we ended up spending a lot of that money on building the technology stack. And going forward, because money was slightly tight, we focused on building a real business that has real revenue. I think there was a lot of experience that came into play from Careem. Not to subsidize when you don't have to, right? Not to throw subsidy, but we have been very efficient with our cash. I think in totality we have spent as much as some startups have spent in a month's time. So the fundraise.
Absolutely.
So our numbers we are by far probably the largest health tech in Pakistan at this stage. We have been growing at 40 with that efficiency in place. So it's like a blessing in disguise. With that efficiency in place, we have been growing at 40% month on month for the last 12 months. And ये सिर्फ कराची था. When we start opening, अभी इस्लामाबाद खोला है, लाहौर खोला है, फैसलाबाद, पेशावर, हैदराबाद, we are looking to open up a city a month at this stage.
So the Careem model being replicated.
So the Careem model with slight caveat, no subsidies.
Right, without the burn.
Without the burn, right? So the money needs to be we need to invest money on the right places.
Yeah.
We need to invest money on talent. We need to invest money on technology. We need to invest money on growth. But not, so हमने शुरू में एक hypothesis test कर रहे थे. So we were testing out a hypothesis के we thought the value addition of this model is good enough for us to grow organically without throwing subsidies. Because if we have to throw subsidies, then there's something wrong with the use case. So, and that model, क्योंकि हमने subsidy throw नहीं की, so the traction was there, and we didn't have to throw any subsidies. So, अभी जो recent fundraise I think you're referring to, right? So this is the largest health tech raise in Pakistan today, and we have been incredibly blessed. So we have investors who are impact investors, right? So I think investors को attract करना who actually believe in the mission of organization and who are willing to support that mission.
Yeah.
I think to find such investors who absolutely gel in with you, that what you're doing right is the right thing to do. So we have raised from 12 different institutions from 9 different countries. So it's a very international, very diversified fundraise we've had. And the timing is also quite good because it gives us a good room for us to be able to build some more sustainability as the market tightens up going forward. But yes, I think I couldn't be happier.
No, mashallah. We won't talk about your net worth right now because, we'll leave that for another day. But touching on what's happening around the world, when you and I were talking earlier, we saw that in Q1, there's some ridiculous amount of money, like $300 billion sitting with VCs right now, which is, an all-time high. And yet the deployments from the VCs have slowed down to a trickle. So how long will this situation last? Because VCs don't get paid to not deploy funds.
Yeah. So a lot of these tech co-founders haven't seen the downturns, right? So the technology industry for the last over a decade or so has been in the bull run.
Yeah. Since 2009, basically.
Right. So since 2009, the industry has been in the bull run. Right?
Yeah.
So the only thing most of the founders have been chasing are valuations.
Yes.
Right? Valuation chase कर रहे हैं. So nobody actually, बहुत कम founders को बिठा के किसी ने कहा होगा यार कि
sustainable business
बनाओ. So investors were looking for growth numbers, and they got the growth numbers by any means.
And the only metric was GMV. Right?
The only
get
metric
me
was
the GMV growth.
Get me the GMV, get me the traction. So they didn't hear this unfortunately, before the entire thing started, reality check aana shuru ho gaya. So in terms of money available, I think end of last year, there were $230 billion sitting with VCs worldwide, which is by far the highest ever. And I think Q1 of this year, they've raised another $70 billion. So the money is there, which is a good thing. Right? अच्छी बात ये कि पैसा पड़ा हुआ है. और पैसा पड़ा होने के साथ साथ ये भी है कि जो पिछले downturns थे, उसमें पैसा इतना नहीं था. This time around, the money is there. So the companies which will, I think, struggle are slightly at this stage. Would trickle down hoga baad mein. At this stage are the companies who are slightly in the later rounds, in the later stages पे जो आ गई हैं, because उन companies के ऊपर बहुत pressure होगा कि तुम्हें काफी अर्सा हो गया है, right? Where is the sustainability, right? Where the margins कहाँ हैं, margins कहाँ हैं, sustainability कहाँ है? I think for early stage companies, I think they'll still be able to raise. As I think हमारे इस साल they've been record angel and early stage investment so far. Late stage में नहीं हो रही हैं. Late stage के ऊपर बहुत pressure है sustainability लेकर आओ. Later stage companies के ऊपर. So my take on this is, if you're a founder, then focus on building a real company with real revenues, with real problems.
Yeah.
Rather than just chasing valuations. So if you focus on building a real company, valuations will follow. And this is the discipline that will, I think जो नए founders हैं वो शुरू में learn कर जाएंगे, and some will learn the hard way. So अच्छी बात ये है कि it will bring some discipline into the tech ecosystem on building real companies with real revenues, not subsidy-driven businesses will have to adjust.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of, because the liquidity was so easy, so a lot of money was being spent on inefficiencies, which got wasted on inefficiency. There's money available for good companies. I don't think the money is drying up. That money has to be deployed one way or the other. So I'm not too worried about myself, but I think it will bring some discipline into the startup ecosystem.
So on that note of valuations, you think that companies that have raised large rounds in the past will find it challenging to increase their valuations for later rounds? And also some of the froth that we've been hearing about for Pakistani founders will probably subside, and we'll have slightly more realistic foundations and evaluations.
I think Pakistan just trajectory pe hai is very similar to where Indonesia was.
2014, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Indonesia ke andar ekdam se startup ecosystem exploded. So there was a lot of growth that came into Indonesia, and then it adjusted. There was an adjustment in the ecosystem, and next time it started growing very sustainably.
Yes.
I think Pakistan ke andar, from Careem times, I think we know that Pakistan has this fantastic talent. I think Pakistan is a talent pool for the entire region. Right? So Careem mein bhi har market ke andar Pakistan, we were exporting people from Pakistan. So the talent is great in Pakistan. The founders are great. I think there's a lot of learning, but it's very new. It's very new. The liquidity is very new in Pakistan. Abhi aayi hai, डेढ़ साल हुआ है, right? So हमारे पास शायद एक आध round B, वो series B भी शायद एक आधी हुई है.
Yes.
Right? वो एक बाइक है. I think the series, अगली series तो हुई नहीं है Pakistan. So we are very early. There's a lot to learn. I think we should look at market. So I regularly speak to the health tech founders in India, try and understand their journey. So India went through the same cycle.
Because they're ahead on the curve.
They're ahead on the curve. The markets are slightly similar. The culture is slightly similar. So I think हमारे end के ऊपर, yes, we'll learn and we'll grow. I think the room to grow in Pakistan is immense. I think as a lot of startups have shown. Recently, the digitization, the growth that came into startup ecosystem shows that there is a lot of room to grow. I think we'll learn and we'll grow. I think those startups जो raise कर चुके हैं, बड़े rounds raise कर चुके हैं, I think they'll adjust. They're smart people. They'll adjust according to the environment, and they'll prevail, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Would you like to add anything else? Any advice for the budding entrepreneurs at NIC?
Yeah, I think what I mentioned earlier, एक तो वो जो cliche term है, I think if you सबसे पहली चीज़ होती है if you are building something, सबसे पहली conviction आपको अपनी चाहिए होती है, right? सबसे पहली conviction आपको अपनी चाहिए, what you're building is real. उसके लिए you have to understand the market, you have to understand the industry जहाँ भी आप जो भी build करना चाह रहे हैं. For example, in my case, because we had to understand this entire medicine supply chain. We spent 3 months studying the entire medicine supply chain just to get our hypothesis right. उसके लिए. So, devil's always in the detail. आप कुछ भी build कर रहे हैं, spend time on researching, spend time in the market, understanding if you're solving the right problem, and then be convinced yourself. You have to have the conviction. और दूसरा ये कि I think once you know that, once you start building the product, just focus on building the real revenues, real company.
Yeah.
Right? Valuations को follow ना करें. Don't look at what others are raising, किस valuation पे raise कर रहे हैं. Just focus on solving problems, and the rest will follow.
Amazing. Asad Khan, thank you so much for being with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this session. I've had a blast talking to Asad, co-founder and CEO at MEDZnMORE, recent beneficiary of the largest raise in the healthcare segment in Pakistan, and a man with a plan to change the healthcare landscape in Pakistan. Asad, I wish you and your amazing team all the very best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you again at NIC soon.
Thank you, Umar.